Welcome back to a new video. Today's review is on Only Murders in the Building, Season 4, Episode 8, entitled Lifeboat, with the official synopsis being: Charles, Oliver, and Mabel combine forces with the film actors in an epic showdown against the Westies. You can't handle the truth. And before I give out my review, please like, subscribe, comment. All of my socials are down in the description, so give them a follow. We are almost at the finish line with Season 4 of Only Murders in the Building. With 2 more episodes left, anything is bound to happen, as the episode is mostly a Arconia / West Tower kind of episode that just has everyone involved in here. The episode just starts off with just narration from Mr. Dudenoff himself talking about the episode's title, which is based off a 1944 movie, as the movie focuses on a group of characters on a boat, and it just shows how far and desperate they are willing to go to survive the difficult circumstances that they are in. And Dudenoff's narration in this episode was interesting, as he seemed like a morally good character. He didn't seem as someone that was evil or shady in a sense. The trio are now racing back to New York at the Arconia alongside with the actors to try to figure out a plan to not only expose the Westies, but to confront them for all of the shady things that they have been doing, from their rent scheming, their social security check cashing, and with their possible involvement with Sazz's death. The actors in here, they weren't bad, honestly, as each of them had their own moments to shine and had their own important moments as well when it came to their characters and as well as with the plot. Another thing that I found interesting with Eva Longoria's character was the tool that she was using to fix her wrinkles, the 19-in-1 tool. I have a small feeling that that tool is going to come back in a huge way. I think in the final episode, when the killer or killers have been revealed, someone is going to have that tool and they're going to be secretly recording it, so that once everything is said and done, that tool will have the evidence of the killers admitting that they were responsible for Sazz's death, etc. I don't know, I just have a small feeling that is going to happen. Another thing that this episode does a good job with, and I think that they have always done a good job throughout the series, is talk about loneliness, as this episode had a lot to deal with loneliness, such as Dudenoff. He was married to his wife, I had to assume, for a long time, and she passed away. With Vince Fish, he was married to his wife for a very long time. She died as well. And as well with just Charles, as he's always been alone in his life. He used to have relationships, but they've all ended in pretty horrible ways. And with Vince's monologue at the college class about being alone, about how that guy was like, I can deal with being alone. But then Vince talking about how when you're really alone with no one there for you and no one's coming for you, it can be heartbreaking and it can definitely be depressing at times, that I thought a lot of people could relate towards about it. And with this Oh Hell card game, I just thought that it was going to be a simple card game with all of the characters just talking while trying to ease the tension that the trio is definitely having against the Westies, with their suspicions of them being responsible for everything. But I was surprised and just thrown off how things just went from 0 to 100 instantly, with all of the Westies just coming, thinking that everything's going to be simple, but nope. Some of them had knives. Some of them was like, give me all your phones, because I just thought that something crazy was about to happen with that. But in this part though, I think the series does a good job with explaining who Dudenoff really was and how Dudenoff met every single character, from Vince, Rudy, the Sazz family, and how he just turned a group of perfect strangers into a weird, imbalanced, but normally based family. And when it comes to Helga finally being introduced, I was extremely happy about it, because there have been many theories throughout the season that Sazz was quote unquote Helga, or that Dr. Maggie was possibly Helga. I'm just glad that Helga was actually a brand new character, and I don't think she's crazy. Like the way that the Westies were saying all of these crazy things about her, about how she was Rudy's crazy ex, how she was a psycho, that was kind of foul, because she doesn't seem like a horrible person. She just seems like someone that is just simple with her pig and just wanted to like get the job done in terms of what she was doing. She finally explains her history with Dudenoff, how they met, how she was a part of the card game, and why she actually left the Arconia, well, the West Towers. And it turns out the reason why was definitely understandable. The night that she received the note from Dudenoff explaining why he was leaving, the powers went out. And whenever the power went out, the incinerator was being used, as she had her own suspicions about the Westies, but since she couldn't prove anything and was likely worried about her becoming the next newspaper, she got the hell out of Dodge. And I think anybody would have done the same thing. Like, you have your suspicions, but you can't prove anything, and the risk of becoming a t-shirt is high too. Anybody would have left. But after the trio decides to confront them about what they've all been doing, from the social security scamming, the checking, to the rent scheme as well too, Vince reveals Dudenoff's final message to Helga that he left on the night of his death. And in the night of his death, honestly, with what happens, is pretty sad. Like, a part of me can understand why he decided to go that route instead of just dying at the hospital with only a few months to live and everything. Like, why die at the hospital when you can just go out the way that you can? And with having the Westies involved as well, with like helping him and explaining why he's doing this, it was actually a little sad and a little bit emotional, because yeah, like for all of them to be involved and having to like do what he says to help him, I can understand, I can get it. But with that moment also, that just helped prove, in my opinion, that the Westies, they are definitely not responsible for Dudenoff's death. And I think it's highly unlikely that they were involved in Sazz's death. Yeah, they definitely should go to prison for the checks and the rent scheme, but considering how hard times is in today's society now, and especially in New York, is it really that bad? Yes and no, in my opinion. I also forgot to mention about Oliver and Loretta. Since they are now engaged as well too, they decide to have a simple wedding. At first it was the courthouse, but now it is going to take place at the Arconia. I just have a very bad feeling that something is going to happen at that wedding. Either everything will be revealed, such as who was responsible for Sazz's death, who's been responsible for all of the unresolved issues back in season 1, or that is how season 4 is going to close off, with the next victim that's going to die be revealed at Oliver and Loretta's wedding. A part of me does think that the next person that's going to die is going to be someone close to Oliver. I just think that something bad is going to happen at this wedding. I don't know what, but something's going to happen no matter what. But the episode just basically ends with the trio just fearing that everything is now back to square one in terms of figuring out who killed Sazz and everything. But Helga does make another appearance as she talks about how she and Sazz actually talked on the ham radios, and how Sazz had mentioned about a stuntman that was her protege, causing her all kinds of problems, was somewhat reckless, and just going to be quote unquote death of her. And the episode just ends with just the reveal of Glenn Stubbins still being alive, and 2 more episodes after that. But yeah, I think that episode 8 overall was a good episode, as a lot of information about Dudenoff, the Westies, and their association with him was revealed, and as well as just closing a few of the plots that has been all throughout of season 4. After this episode, I think the Westies are very suspicious people that should be in a jail cell because of what they're doing with the rent and social security, but at the same time, I can understand why they're doing these things. They are not responsible for Dudenoff's death, and I think they are not responsible for Sazz's death. I just don't see it. Yeah, Dudenoff seemed like a good-hearted person that was going through a lot from loneliness and dying, and it's unfortunate, but I can understand why he decided to go end his life in that route. Helga, she doesn't seem like a bad person, and yeah. As far as the wedding goes, I think that something bad is going to happen at this wedding. I think someone is definitely going to die, or everything when it comes to Sazz's death, and as far as who is responsible for the past incidents in season 1 will be revealed. When it comes towards my suspect list now, I still think that Marshall is the man responsible for firing the sniper at Sazz. I think he is responsible for Sazz dying for a few reasons, because of having 2010 vision, likely did not write the original script of the movie, was likely the person that tried to kill Glenn at the photo shoot because of that comment that Glenn made in one previous episode saying that you have a beard now, lassie. I think he definitely does have a stunt double likely, and he is just shady altogether. Ever since his first appearance, with how he was shaky, always falling down, and how he was interested in being a suspect, just gives me just many reasons to suspect him. And also how he said that he had an alibi at the night of Sazz's death. We technically never saw it, so there's that. I know they tried to throw in Glenn in here because he is a stuntman, and it could make a little bit of sense about how he could possibly be a reckless individual, how he was harassing Sazz and everything, but I think he is just the final red herring of the season. Another person that I think could be responsible and involved is Bev Mellon. I know I said she wasn't responsible, but after thinking about it, I could see her having a few reasons why she possibly could have wanted Sazz killed. When it came with the movie, she always talks about how this movie is like a life and death situation with her Hollywood career, and if the movie were to not be made, her Hollywood career could possibly be over. She says she had an alibi with the photo, but that photo could have been taken anywhere. That photo could have been from another day or from another time. Like, who's to say that she's telling the truth about that? I just think that she is suspicious, and yeah, I just think that those are the people that I suspect the most. 2 more episodes left before we find out who's responsible. It's getting crazier by each episode. But until next time, see you next week.